Welcome to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast, a show for women entrepreneurs who want to build, grow, and lead successful businesses and high-performing teams. I'm your host, Lindsay White, leadership coach and people strategy expert, here to bring you unplugged conversations with a variety of amazing guests who share expert advice and real actionable people strategies for your growing business. Ready to get unplugged? Let's jump in. Welcome back, everyone, to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast, where we talk about the real, unplugged, authentic things that are happening for female founders in their businesses. And today I have with me Andee Hart, and she is very clearly an energetic entrepreneur. She's a business coach. She hosts a podcast called She Sells Differently. Love that. She's, like many of you, worked in a Fortune 500 company and then started a passion project making candles in her own kitchen. And it started as a side hustle, but it blossomed pretty quickly. And she's got an incredible story to tell us today. And we're going to talk about a variety of really important, issues that pop up in all of our businesses, especially as female founders. So I'm excited to have her here. Andee, thank you. I'm really glad to connect with you and have you as a guest today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about this side hustle that became like a whole thing.
Yes. So, probably like many of your listeners, when we were all quarantining at home during the pandemic, I was looking for something to keep me from just going a little bit stir crazy at home. And so I thought, I've always loved creating. I thought making candles would be a fun hobby. So I started making candles in my kitchen during the pandemic.
Love.
And I was giving them to family and friends just to bless them and started getting really good feedback. And then, of course, I have been in sales for over 17 years, and my sales mind started going, I'm going to start selling these. And I had a goal in mind that I'm going to be in 4 boutiques by the end of 2021. And so within 3 months, I was in 120 boutiques.
I love
And I
it.
was like, what have I done to myself? I still have a corporate job. I can't sustain this, right? So, yeah, it was just kind of a funny,
That is,
I had really just not sure what I did to myself, but yes. So it was really a kitchen fun hobby that turned into a crazy business.
I love
So,
it.
yeah.
I often say, some people took up crochet, some people started doing sourdough. Now I can add, some people started a candle business.
Yes.
I started a podcast. But like I love it that it like we all had a thing, right? Some people
Right.
watched everything on Netflix. But of course you did. Of course, you suddenly had this beautiful problem. It's still a problem, this
Yeah.
beautiful problem that now you're a full-time working at a Fortune 500 company and apparently running a candle business full-time.
Yes.
Didn't have enough to do.
Lindsay, I'm literally coming home from and everyone that's ever been in sales, they know that it's not a 9 to 5 job.
No.
So I'm literally coming home from my not a 9 to 5 job and working more. And then I'm fulfilling wholesale orders. And so it's not sustainable at
Mm,
all.
mm-mm.
So I am hiring my next door neighbor that's a high schooler to come over to my house and teaching her to make candles. I hire a sweet lady from my church. And so she ends up working for me full time. To this day, she is my operations manager for my candle
Love it.
company. And she would come over, make candles all day, fulfill wholesale orders. And that ended up being just a huge blessing because it was just becoming something that was just not a sustainable lifestyle for me. All I was doing was just working. So Yes. And that was what kind of one thing led to another. And I started dreaming of what would it look like to leave my corporate job. And really, if I started putting all of my efforts into my candle company, could I grow this into something that would sustain me full time?
I bet.
So,
I bet.
yeah.
Well, and to see it take off like that, I think, I mean, I say it jokingly, but it is, I mean, this is a problem I hear about from female founders like weekly. My
Yeah.
business has actually, it's grown really beautifully. I'm so pleased with it. I'm so excited about it. Either I planned for it or like you, it grew beyond my wildest imaginations in a very organic way.
Hmm.
It's still a problem. There's not enough hours in the day. There's absolutely no ability to blend my work and my life together. My business has taken over my life, which is what it sounds like
Yes.
to you, my friend. I want to grow this business. I'm passionate about it. I love what I do, but like, holy smokes, how do I manage all of this? I love this. It's such a, do you know, this to me is just this is the story. And
Hmm.
right. Okay. So tell me about what you have done in the last couple years to manage this beautiful beast.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the craziest parts of my story, and it's worth sharing because you're going to laugh at my next decision and you're going to go, Andee, what in the world? What, why? But I took a promotion at work.
Oh,
Um, so I, this was October of 2022, 2022. Took a promotion at work. Why not? Let's just add some more work. So I became the global sales director for my Fortune 500 company, just add some more responsibility. And then I decide I've got to get this candle company out of my house. So
yeah.
I'm I'm like, I mean, like you can't make this stuff up. So I'm like, let's open a retail shop slash candle studio where we are fulfilling
Right.
our wholesale orders. So I have my operations manager that is going to run this. And we opened this in early February of 2023. And I'm busy getting all of this in order, running my, working my new job at work. Meantime, we are laying people off at work.
Oh no.
And, as the new director, I have managers under me and an organization. And that is even though you've been in corporate for so long and you can get kind of immune to it, I never want to get immune to having to lay people off. That
No.
is just a horrible,
Yeah.
horrible
Hard.
thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I am new to this organization and I'm thinking, am I next?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Of
matter
course you are.
what level you're at.
Yeah.
And so this is January of 2023. I'm preparing to open my new candle studio. And I remember I took a long weekend, planning weekend at the beach, and I am sitting there just praying over what's next. And I am thinking, can this be a full-time
Yeah.
job for
Yeah.
me? And I'm big planner, goal setter, and I wrote out a date of what that would look like for me to exit corporate America. And I wrote down September 29th, and that may sound crazy to people of like, is that a random date? But it wasn't. I knew that I wanted to leave my company well
Yeah.
because I respected the people that I worked with. I loved my company. And that was a good ending point because it was a Friday. It was the end of our fiscal half at
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was also happened to be 5 days before my 40th birthday. And I thought, I'm going to go out with a bang. So I wrote that date down in my prayer journal. I started praying over it. And I had been praying over this date, September 29th, 2023, for several months. End of March rolls around. And Lindsay, I had a VP call me. I was actually sitting right here in my home office. And he calls me and he says, Andee, we're laying people off and we are getting rid of your role.
Oh,
Most people are going to be exiting the company next month, but we want to graciously keep you on. We have it approved to keep you on board for 6 months. And we would like for you to find another job at the company. If you don't, we will help you, we'll give you a severance.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, thank you. I hang up the phone. I look at the calendar. It is March 29th. 6 months from that
Wow.
day
No
is
way.
September 29th. I might be the only person that just got told you are losing your job and popped a bottle of champagne. So I wish I could tell you that it was faith over fear, but I was seriously like, okay, can I really do this? I mean,
Yeah,
like, I mean, this
yeah.
is it. So I actually still looked for jobs within my company and had a couple of job offers, but they were just not what I was looking
Right.
for. And so September 29th rolled around and I left and I have never looked back. And so we are right at a year, my year anniversary, and it has been the most amazing adventure, best decision I have made. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. First of all, September 29th is my birthday. So, yay. What an awesome day.
Happy belated, because I know that just came around.
Well, and
Yes.
it sounds like you're a Libra too. So, you got a birthday coming up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Happy early birthday to you. But
Thank you.
I really love, you know, sometimes you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And isn't that
Yeah.
beautiful? Isn't
I
that
needed a good swift kick.
Yeah.
I don't know that I could have
Yeah.
made that decision on my own.
I totally get it because I feel the same way. I would never, I would never have started my own practice if I hadn't, had a really toxic boss and had to leave. I would
Mm,
still be in the same I'm sure you would be too. You'd probably still be there,
yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
I completely identify with that. I think that's true for a lot of us. I think
Hmm.
we come up against something, we have a second baby, we don't get that promotion, we don't get the like something happens. There's a reorganization, there's layoffs, and so we leave and we figure it out. And I think that's the beauty of being a female founder is
Yes.
we know how to figure it out.
Yes. And Lindsay, we are a lot more resilient than we give ourselves credit for.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know what gets in the way of that? It's actually our own head trash. Like,
absolutely.
yes. Okay. So you agree. I think that I call it the saboteur. That's the very coach-like phrase for it.
Hmm.
But call it whatever you want. It's the trash talking that we do in our own brain about we're not good enough. We're not smart enough. Can I do it? Nobody's going to want to buy from me. Nobody's going to hear from me. All of that junk that we say to ourselves, that's what keeps us from really understanding our power and our resilience. That's my theory. What do you think
Yes.
about that?
I love you said it's the head trash. Like that's exactly what it is. And so many times I tell my clients that. And I remember when I first heard the word imposter syndrome and I heard about it when I was early in my corporate career, in my sales career. And I knew what I was feeling, but I thought that it was just me.
Mm-hmm. No.
And I heard a podcast talking about it, and they put the label imposter syndrome on it. And I was like, wait, this is a real thing, and it's not just me.
No.
We all struggle with it.
That's what I've come to understand in my coaching practice. And I work with a lot of women just like you and me, Andee, that, we have great careers. We're experienced professionals. We're smart. We're well educated. And some of us are more accidental entrepreneurs, maybe like you and I. Some of the women, I mean, they come from real entrepreneurial backgrounds. Like they set out on purpose to do this. But it's the one thing we all have in common. To me, it's the human condition. We all have that
Mhm.
voice in our heads that says we're not enough. Um,
Yeah.
and it gets in our way a lot from not only having the business that we want, but having the work and life blend that we really want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, okay, this what a cool story. Now tell us about where you're at today. So 2024, the fall of 24 is where we're at. Where are
Yes.
you today?
So I, left my corporate job and I still have my candle company that is thriving. And I started a coaching business specifically around sales coaching because what I realized is I did not want to have this 17 years of sales experience and for that to go to waste. I
Yeah.
wanted I saw a need for women entrepreneurs to really learn how to embrace who they are
Yeah.
and learn how to sell. Specifically, I coach product makers,
Okay.
so product-based businesses, how to sell their products and lean into who God created them to be. So, not taking what our culture defines as our typical sales tactics,
Right.
but leaning into who they are and selling with authenticity and not having that icky feeling when we talk about our products.
Yeah.
But I really stress to them when you have a beautiful product that brings value to customers, brings value to the world, then you actually owe it to people to share and talk about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love teaching how to just sell with authenticity. So,
I and what a wonderful combination and celebration of the two things that you do so well. Like I really love that. And I think that's what makes female founders so passionate because we get to combine what we love doing and what we're really good at doing. And then we get to do that and offer that to others. That I think is the inflection point where we really like that makes a powerful business. So I
yes.
love that, Andee.
Yes. And it I always describe it that when you sit in that really comfy chair and
Yeah.
you're just like, I never want to get up. Like, this is just so comfy.
Mhm.
And it may have taken me over 40 years, but I finally found like my true purpose.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that all of that before now was a waste. I needed those
Of
seasons to prepare
course.
me for now, you
Yeah,
know? And
of course.
so it's really beautiful to see that. I'm so glad I had those experiences, but I I have such passion for working with my clients and seeing that light bulb go off. And they'll say to me, but Andee, I'm not extroverted. And so it's hard for me to talk. And I'm like, some of the best salespeople, the most successful entrepreneurs I've seen are introverted. And that's okay.
It's
That's
okay.
okay.
I love
So,
that. I
yeah.
love that. Okay, that is really powerful. I mean, and I'm lucky. I get to work with amazing ladies just like you in my business every day. And I think that that is where that's where we really get to shine, is where we can find the sweet spot. All the experience that we have, all the knowledge we have,
Yeah.
all the passion and energy we have to share and to add value and to be of service. Like I think that's a real common value is to be of service. That's like a magic potion for a really powerful business that's really fulfilling and joyful, but also, makes money. I mean, let's be clear, we all want to make money, right?
Yes.
Um, but I think that's where there's beautiful magic happens.
Yes, and I think that that's a mindset shift. I was sharing with someone earlier that it truly is a mindset shift that even when you are sharing about your product, that if you are going into a conversation with a mindset of I've got to make a sale,
Yeah.
that's going to come off to your customer. But if you go into that conversation with the mindset of how can I get to know this customer to even see if my product is the right fit for them? Or how can I go into this conversation to provide value? and just to get to know this person, because at the end of the day, they're just another person,
Yeah.
and just to serve them well. That is a whole mindset shift, completely different than what our culture's common sales tactics teach us. And at the end of the day, it's okay if they walk away, which a lot of sales coaches may cringe at that. It's okay if they walk away, but
Yeah.
you have just provided them with a great experience. And chances are they are going to remember that experience.
Yeah.
And when they are ready to make a purchase, they will come back time and time again.
Yeah. I think, when I hear you talk about that, and I love that, I think about, it's got to connect back to your values. And for me, I have a huge value of connection. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's about creating a great relationship. It is about creating a space where people can be authentic, where you can have a great conversation, where you can really actually, um, you know, occupy the space together in a way that's meaningful. And you're
Yeah.
right. If there's a sale comes out of that, that is awesome. But
Yes.
it happens because the connection is there,
Yeah.
because the thing is the right thing, because it's going to add incredible value. And you have to believe that. And so do they. But if
Right.
that's not there, then that's okay.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
You just said something, you hit on something that is so central to my method of coaching and to how I teach sales. And that sales has to, for it to be successful, especially for us as women entrepreneurs, it has to align with your values.
100%.
If you are doing something that is out of alignment with who you are and your
Yeah.
values, ultimately you're going to quit.
Yeah.
You are going to feel that icky
Oh,
sales feeling,
yes.
you know,
Yeah. It's uncomfortable, isn't it?
and it's going to come across to your customer,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Totally. And that, I think that's the truth. With the sales piece, sort of externally focused. I was just working with a client this morning. We were working on her vision, mission, values, because you also use those internally too, right? That's how you define your culture, how you work
Hmm.
together, how you connect. And so I think you're right. Those values pieces, so critical, not only in the way you conduct yourself externally, but also as a leader in your business.
100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love it. I values I think are so critical. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you've got the successful candle business, you've got a successful sales coaching business. What does that look like for the future? Like, how are you growing? How are you leading in that business?
Yes. So that's a great question. And I'm actually in a period of transition right now. So one of the things that I often talk about, it's a common theme among a lot of my clients, is they are either at a place where they are a hobbyist and they're trying to figure out, they're where I was
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
years ago, trying to figure out how do I make this my full-time job and, have the income, or they're just starting out. And so I have these conversations all the time. And one of the common things that we talk about is redefining wealth,
Mm,
because as entrepreneurs, we often, or just not even as entrepreneurs, but just as human beings, we hear the word wealth and we think finances.
yes.
And so I am all the time having this conversation that as an entrepreneur, you need to redefine the word wealth for you and your family, because it does not necessarily mean that you are going to jump off of your corporate job or your 9 to 5 and have the same standard of living or the same paycheck. But what it does mean is you could have a freedom of time or a freedom of location independence. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite is freedom of purpose.
Yeah.
And so waking up every morning and working towards my own dream
Yeah.
instead of building someone else's dream
Yeah.
is priceless,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a great example in my own life is I am the one person in my family that has lived far away for years and years, and I
Right.
miss family dinners every Friday night. And so I'm in the process of moving closer to my family, my niece and nephew, my brother,
Love
sister-in-law, my
it.
parents. And that is only made possible because I was able to leave my 9 to 5, my
Yeah.
corporate job, and be an entrepreneur. And I'm so excited about being able to have family dinners on Friday night. That is wealth for me,
Yeah.
Lindsay. That is wealth,
No,
you know?
I love that. You're using the word wealth. I've used the word success. But the
Yes.
idea is that we define that based on the dollars in our bank account. And in fact, if there's 9 billion people in the world, there's 9 billion other ways to define wealth
Yes.
or success. And I think we miss the idea that this idea of what makes us feel wealthy or successful is not defined by money. That's a metric.
Mm-hmm.
That's a metric. That's a very easy way to measure it. But
Yep.
actually, it's this idea of how we get to be with our family. Or do we get to live our purpose? Are we making a change in the world? Those are the kinds of things that make us feel truly wealthy and truly successful. And I love that. I love that you bring that into the sales coaching conversation and really think about, are you building a business but a life that is truly deeply fulfilling
Yes.
and truly brings your values to life? That is, again, that's magical.
Yes. And I think
Yeah.
it's hard before you have gone through it to
Mm.
imagine it. But as I look back over the past year, I think I don't know that I've ever been happier and been more
Oh, I love
fulfilled.
that. Yeah.
And it has not been without its trials. And I think anytime that you are living your God-given purpose, you're going to have trials.
Sure.
But there is beauty in that, being refined and being just challenged. There's growth. And
Yeah.
so that has just been a sweet thing. And so, um, yeah, I think if you asked any entrepreneur that has taken that leap,
Yeah.
I venture to guess they would say, I would do it all over again, you know?
Such a remarkable learning curve, isn't it? Being an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
yeah,
100%. Love it.
absolutely.
I want to ask you because, before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about, what are you challenged with? And I know one of those topics was recruitment. Like, how do you hire the right talent now to resource your business? And this is, man, I hear this a lot. I hear that clients come to me all the time. Lindsay, I know I need the right people to help me grow the business. There's not enough hours in the day. And I'm not working like I was before. Like I'm not working 60 hours a week. I got out of a full-time job because I don't want that. How do I find the right people for my small business? Clearly, you found a couple people right off the bat. You're very lucky. Where are you at with your recruitment today? What does that look like?
Oh man, I, I don't know about your experience, but I feel like this is an ongoing topic for
Mhm.
me, even running two different companies of, and the hiring looks different for each,
Sure it does.
right?
Yeah.
And so I actually have a process that I teach my clients of how to analyze their time
Yeah.
and go through and what are the I kind of use the 80/20 principle.
Yeah.
What's the 20% in your business that actually moves the needle and is, strategic revenue generating items or,
Right.
activities? And what's that 80% that you need to start looking to outsource? And then
Yeah.
we comb through and look at different places that you can outsource. And that might be you need on-site help, manufacturing.
Yes.
If you're a product business, which most all of my clients
Yeah.
are, right? Or it could be virtual assistant help, maybe with sales outreach or marketing or different things like that. And
Yeah.
so, just really identifying what kind of help that you need and then how to onboard them, even down to like the nitty gritty. And these are things that I'm always learning to refine of how to develop standard operating procedures so that when you do have turnover, onboarding is much easier next time, So I am experiencing that in my own coaching business right now because I literally just this past week onboarded a new virtual assistant.
Love it.
And so walking through that whole process of sitting down and giving him the rundown on
Yeah.
what that looks like for my business. And so I'm sure as I move to, I will have that for my candle company.
Right.
And so I think it is just a constant, um, just analyzing that 20% and shedding that 80% and outsourcing. And I have a great book recommendation for if you have not read this book or your listeners have not, it is called 10X is Easier Than 2X.
Right. Yes. I've read it. It's a
Amazing
great
book.
book. It's a great book.
Yes. Yeah. And that is a lot of that book talks about not necessarily like onboarding, but just really about getting rid and outsourcing
Yeah.
that bottom 80%. And so it's a challenge. To be transparent, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still in that learning process.
I
So,
love it.
yeah.
And it is a process, isn't it?
Yeah.
The idea, so yes, I'm like you. I totally believe in that 80-20 rule. The other thing that I would add to that, when I do that work with clients as we're thinking about their people strategy, is really thinking about what is not just the work that I do that creates revenue, what's the work that I do that I really love? What's the work that I
Yes.
do I'm really passionate? Why did I get into this thing in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
What's that part? Because I think we have work that generates revenue, but that's not always our favorite work.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to layer into that. What's the work that I really love? There's always some work that I have to, right? So things that because I'm the business owner, I got to do that. And when we can combine those things together, we can create a role that's really meaningful. And then we can still feel really connected to the work in our business. And I think that that's so powerful because, why did we start this thing to begin with? We got to feel like
Absolutely.
we still have connection to that mission. Um, as the business owner, it's absolutely critical. Yeah, I think as business owners, and what I hear from my clients is as their business grows, they don't want to get too far away from the clients, from the purpose, from the mission. And so making sure that we still have a role for ourselves that keeps that connection that we need. That's
Yeah.
really, really critical so that we feel really good about our role and also that we feel like we can lead effectively. And I don't know if you hear this, but I hear a lot of female founders that actually don't think about themselves as a leader. But of course you are. Of course you're a leader.
100%. And I always challenge even, when I was in corporate and even my individual contributors that were frontline sales reps, you are a leader and you need to
That
conduct yourself as a leader. And here are the ways that you do that.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You were talking about, um, you know, things that you love and really honing in not just on the 20% that moves the needle, but things that you love. I
Yeah.
think that that is important even for your employees
You bet.
and the people that you're onboarding. And that's something that I've always strived and kind of even looking at viewing your employees as somewhat as your customers, right?
Sure.
And so getting to know them. And if I am creating an experience where they are excited to come to work or excited and passionate about the work that they do, I want to make sure that I am aligning their work with their gifts and what they enjoy
Absolutely.
as as much as possible, right? And so I think that there are several ways that you can do that. And I have not always been the best at this, but something that I teach is as much as possible to have those communication points with your employees where they can have that direct feedback and they can feel comfortable giving that feedback to you. And so that has been really, really helpful within my candle company. And just specific example, my operations manager just last week gave me very direct feedback of something she did not like. And instead of saying and just dismissing it,
Right.
I said, "You are absolutely right. Thank you so much for giving me that
Yeah.
feedback."
I,
You
you
know?
know what? I want to acknowledge that you just own that on a podcast because I think that that's actually really important. I think there's lots of business owners that would really struggle to admit that something was going on in their business that wasn't going exactly right. We want to be seen as professional and
Yes.
successful. Like, let's be clear. I get that. But to actually be able to listen to receive the feedback in a way that's meaningful and to acknowledge someone else for bringing that to your attention. Our employees have really vital data for us. They are talking to our clients, our customers every single day. They are seeing what happens in our operation every single day. They're working in the workflows. They are running the processes and they have important feedback for us that we can't see as business owners. And if we're not listening to that, we are missing vital data points. So, Andee, I really appreciate that you just own that right here on the podcast. That is so crucial.
Yes. And I will say when I first became a leader, I that was something that I struggled with and probably would have become defensive and wanted to, you know, put up walls,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But I think over time, you learn that when you create an environment where an employee feels comfortable
yes,
coming and opening up and sharing tough feedback,
yes,
that you actually get to the root of problems and you can create a much more streamlined, open. You find out a lot
yeah,
of different things, and you're
yeah.
able to just root out issues well before they even become issues. And so it was just a great conversation, and yeah, I have just learned that about myself. I actually really appreciate when people are direct with me. And I'm like, thanks.
Me too. I love that. Like, so, I mean, what you've essentially done is, and I'm not surprised because you're clearly just a lovely, big-hearted, you know, real, authentic, connected human. But you've created a culture in your organization that is based on some of those important values. And I think that's what most of us want. We want to create a great place not just for other people to work. We want to create a great place for us to work. Like we want to have fun and have a great place to work too. And that's what culture's all about. It's how we work together. And when we do that based on our values, then not only do we hire people that fit, we can go out, we can find the talent that's going to just really align, we can set them up for success, create an onboarding plan that makes them feel like they belong. And I think
Yes.
that's what we all really want. And then they deliver incredible work for us. And I think that's what really accelerates success in a small business is when every single person feels awesome about the work they do and they just deliver for us.
Yes.
Love it.
I have to say too, this operations manager, she is one that I don't know that I've ever seen an employee own her work like it was her own business.
Yeah,
And that is far and few between.
sure it is.
Yeah.
I get asked all the time by clients, I'm trying to recruit top talent. And one of the things that's really, I can't find people that take ownership.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know what you're looking for. And I think the key there, and Andee, this is clearly what you've done super well. What does ownership actually mean? What does it look like? Because that I think is the key, especially when I build a recruitment strategy for an organization. How do we take those values? How do we talk to people about what they do that represent, like, what's the behavior? What's the action? You've clearly done an exceptional job of that because she stepped in. It sounds like she's owned it kind of from day one. Well, you as the business leader have been clear about what you're looking for. She's just gravitated to it and held on to it and just makes it happen. That's amazing because you're right. I hear from business owners every day. I can't find people that have ownership. Well, you're not looking in the right place and you're not talking about it the right way. You clearly have done the opposite, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I think that that is trial and error too. And I think it's a combination of being very transparent
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
having like just extreme levels of communication, which
yeah.
I have failed at times for sure. For sure. Like I said, trial and error. But also going above and beyond that when you find
Yeah,
that I want to say it like that unicorn,
yeah,
that, and I learned this from my brother. My brother is an exceptional entrepreneur. We come from a family of entrepreneurs, and he does this quietly. He's not I mean, he praises his employees, in public, but he will do this quietly, behind the scenes of like, he takes care of his people. I
yeah.
mean, just really, if you work for him, like
You feel it.
you are going to feel it, feel a
Feel the
part of a
love.
family. You
Yeah.
are going to be appreciated and you want to work for him,
I, you know, that I love that. When we create spaces where people feel like they belong, where they feel like they fit, where they feel like family, where they feel respected and that they can deliver great work, they never want to leave.
Yes.
Never want to leave. And I love that your brother does that. And some people do that very innately. Some of us have to think about it a little bit more. But if we create spaces where people feel like they belong, they will deliver. They'll make our clients really happy and they'll bring us more clients and more money.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Andee, I want to thank you for being just really authentic. Again, this is the unplugged version and I love it. You have totally brought it today. Where can everybody go to find you?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a free Facebook group called She Sells Differently, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier. That's the name of my company. And so you can find me on my free Facebook group, She Sells Differently, and my website, andeehart.com.
I love it. I also want to chime in here. If recruitment is something that you are struggling with, which for many small businesses it is, I'm going to include the link in the show notes for my Rockstar Recruitment Workbook. And what it does is walks you through the steps all the way from designing a job description that's really going to speak to the top talent you're looking for, all the way through to onboarding, which Andee has reinforced is so important. When you find the right person, you want to set them up for success when they come into your business. And this guide is going to help walk you through those steps. So I'm going to pop that in as well, because I know recruitment is a hot topic for so many of us. And it's tricky. It's tricky, especially when we're busy, incredibly focused entrepreneurs like our friend Andee here. So thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your time today. This has been a spectacular conversation.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I have loved this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. I feel so lucky that I get to connect with such amazing female entrepreneurs. And if you enjoyed today's session, would you do me a big favor? Would you hit subscribe and give this episode a 5-star review? I'd also love it if you would share with your friends. We've got a goal here at the Female Founder Unplugged podcast to impact 1,000 female founders. And with your help, we can really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show. And don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca. We'll see you next week.